The NFL has just passed multiple new rule changes for this upcoming NFL season, and Pittsburgh Steelers' suggestion is one of them. So, the NFL, it will look a little bit different in 2025. As this year's owners' meeting, 3 rule changes have been passed so far. The most notable one modifies kickoffs to bring most touchbacks out to the 35-yard line instead of the 30. But first, before I get more into the rest of them, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So yes, like I said, one of the biggest ones is no more touchbacks, or at least the NFL owners and the NFL are hoping that this new rule changes that more teams will actually return the ball off of kickoffs and not do the kickoff touchback thing. Because touchbacks will now come out to the 35-yard line instead of the 30-yard line. It used to always start off at the 20-yard line. They moved up to the 25-yard line. They moved up to the 30-yard line. And now they're moving up even more to the 35-yard line to try to get teams to return the ball more. Obviously, the new rules of the kickoff of teams standing in place on the kickoff instead of having running starts all the way down the field, that's still in place as well. So that has just been modified for the new kickoff rule. Also, looking into the other rules that the NFL has passed, they passed a rule that will change regular season's overtime rule to give both teams the opportunity to possess the ball. What does that mean? Well, we all know in the overtime playoff rule, both teams get the ball. And then the next team to score after that would win if both teams score in overtime touchdowns. So now this rule is in place for the regular season. This period of overtime still stands at 10 minutes, however, but both teams will get the ball. So the NFL, they passed that rule to give the regular season overtime rule basically the same thing as the postseason and just keep those two the same. This rule change first came into play for the postseason a few years ago, if you remember, when the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs had a shootout in the postseason where it was a high-scoring game. But because the Chiefs scored first in overtime, the Bills didn't get the ball back. And that was a bummer to all the fans, and they switched the rule because of it. So, an insider in Jonathan Jones notes that a proposal to return the game of overtime to 15 minutes from 10 minutes was rejected, so it will still be a 10-minute period in overtime. What does this mean? Well, given that both teams are now guaranteed possession, this could increase the number of ties that we see if a game goes to overtime, because then the game will just end after the team gets a second possession. So, since 2000, Pittsburgh has been involved in 3 ties: 2002 against the Atlanta Falcons, 2018 versus the Cleveland Browns, 2021 against the Detroit Lions, but the Steelers haven't played an overtime game since 2022, so this rule change is basically just for teams that always go into overtime. The Steelers aren't a team that always goes into overtime, so this might not affect them as much. And when looking at the ties thing that I just mentioned, there hasn't been a tie since 2023 and 2024. There was no ties in those 2 seasons. So the last one came in 2022. So the tie rule, we might see an increase in that. But as of right now, we just have to wait and see. So looking at the next rule change that took place in the NFL owners meeting, well, replay assist has now been expanded. And looking at what this means, well, this means that, again, only to pick up flags, not to put them down. What does that mean? Well, when there's a play and a penalty on the field and the ref calls it a penalty, if it's not actually a penalty, they can pick up the flag. And that has been expanded on multiple fronts. Sometimes that was only for certain instances and certain penalty calls, but now it could be for a broader field of penalties that are called, but aren't actually penalties. But once again, this won't help the replay assist tell the refs to put the flag down. They can't do that. That's not what it's used for. It's only to pick up the penalty. So this has been expanded, and this is the new rule change on that front. So, now before I get into the rule change that the Pittsburgh Steelers suggested that actually got accepted by the NFL, the very last one, let me into the ones that were declined. So Detroit's proposal to eliminate an automatic first down as a penalty imposed for defense holding and illegal contact did not pass, despite the Lions' pleas. And also, the ruling of eliminating the tush push was also in favor by the Steelers. They wanted that to be banned. Some other teams did too, but no, that will still be allowed in this upcoming season. So those two rule changes that people were pushing, those ones got declined, and they will still be allowed for this upcoming season. Now, let's get into the final one. The Pittsburgh Steelers suggested a rule change, and it actually got accepted. It's not for the play on the field, but it's for the offseason. It's for meeting with free agents during the tampering period. They wanted to allow that. So in past years, all the way up until now, basically, you were not allowed to meet with the players during the legal tampering period. And you were not allowed to have travel plans with the players or nothing like that. With the Pittsburgh Steelers proposal regarding contact with free agents during the negotiating window passed, with some modification on a 1-year trial basis. Clubs now have the opportunity to have one video or phone call with no more than 5 prospective UFAs, unrestricted free agents, and to book travel upon agreeing to terms. So, what does this mean? Well, we all know the NFL hands out $1 million contracts, $100 million contracts to these free agents without even having the opportunity to talk to them, without even having the opportunity to know if they want to be on the team, other than outside the money, or just to pick their brain in general. They just hand out these contracts without any of that. Well, the Steelers' rule change allows them to actually have a meeting with them, talk to them, see them, and be able to know if they're giving out the contract to the right person. And they could do that with 5 players. So the Pittsburgh Steelers rule change has been passed. And when looking at the exact details of it, I'll get into it step by step. So this rule change, step number 1. During the 2-day negotiation period, a club may conduct one video or phone call no longer than 1 hour with a prospect unrestricted free agent. This player agent must be a participant of the phone call. Number 2, during the permitted video or phone call, a represented player or unrepresented player is permitted to communicate with any member of the club. For any other contact with the club, an unrepresented player is not permitted to communicate directly or indirectly with any member of the new club's coaching staff, its player personnel department, or with any employee whose primary responsibility do not include negotiation of player contracts. This prohibition applies regardless of which party member attempts to imitate communication, whether in person, by email, by text, or by other means. Number 3, upon conclusion of such a call, the club must report the following details of the call to the NFL Player Personnel Department: date, start time, end time, call type, player attended, agent name attended, and a club personnel attended. Number 4, although a contract has not been signed by a club other than the player's current club that has agreed to terms with the player, may discuss and make travel arrangements for a prospective unrestricted free agent to travel to his home city. Travel arranged or paid by the club cannot occur until the expiration of the player's contract at 4 p.m. New York time on the first day of the new league year. So that's it. That's everything you need to know about the Pittsburgh Steelers rule change and every other rule change for the NFL for this upcoming season. There's many rule changes. Let's see how they affect the NFL this upcoming season. So that's the end of this video. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below on each of the new rule changes. Which ones are you most excited for? And for me personally, I really want to see the kickoff rule. Do you think teams will actually return the ball more? Do you think the teams will actually not kick it through the end zone more? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about how that will affect. They switched it to the 30-yard line last season. Think that it'll have a big effect? It really didn't. Do you think it'll have a bigger effect at the 35-yard line? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the Steelers rule change that got passed as well. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know your thoughts. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis reports, everything surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers I covered, so stay tuned for everything. Draft is right around the corner, so everything will be covered. Like this video, turn notifications for this channel, subscribe to the channel, and until the next video, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.